Welcome back to The Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today we've got Scott McKinley. He's founder and executive producer of Level 5 Interactive. And of course, we've got Katrina Glogowski. She's an angel investor and attorney. Thank you guys for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely, thank you.
Is that an AR, VR studio? What is that, Scott?
AR, VR, XR, and TV.
What is XR?
XR is mixed reality.
Okay. So let's dive into virtual reality first. I think maybe that's more of the norm, what people understand, and then we'll get to augmented reality and XR. Tell us a little bit about the studio. What are we doing here?
Well, we used to be a 502 processor here. I sidestepped from that business just a little bit in order to create this green screen film studio. In this studio, we started this in order to film holograms. That was the sole purpose of building the green screen. We've done a show we're filming called the Dab Roast. Aside from that, the holograms was the 100% purpose for this. We film with a scanning gun, and it has a whole bunch of cameras all on the end of it, and I can go up and down, left and right, and scan you in as an actual person, full 3D hologram. Then we do motion capture in order to move that hologram around.
Mm-hmm. So a 502 processor, so that's the Washington State legal cannabis producer processor, just
right.
Processor, and so you've transitioned into kind of a studio here, and so a lot of people understand, I guess, virtual reality. You put on those goggles.
Yeah, virtual reality takes you to a new place. Augmented reality augments the place that you're in. Mixed reality takes all of the augmented reality and mixes it into your everyday.
Okay, so you've got some contracts. I don't know what I can say and what I can't, so I'm just not going to say anything. But I will kind of, since it's a cannabis business podcast, we'll focus on that. So one of the most difficult things in this industry is to educate and then sell. I mean, any industry really. It's very, very difficult to try and tell somebody why they need something and why they should pay for it without really understanding it. So maybe to me, I see one of the biggest advantages of Level 5 Interactive is that ability to have somebody scan their phone over, whether it's a competitor or a product or otherwise, and then have you or somebody pop up and then explain the product in a way that's going to be more than just 8 seconds of attention span. That's really going to hold them to get the full message out there for them to educate themselves about what is CBD or what is this strain, the cultivar or otherwise. And so am I right in saying that this could be that breakthrough for educating and then selling?
Well, absolutely. The whole goal is to take the gimmick of augmented reality and turn it into a useful tool, whether it be for in the field application, education, or fundraising.
So the virtual reality aspect could be like a tour. So if somebody wanted to get an in-depth knowledge and relate, because right now branding in cannabis is difficult. People ask for the highest THC at the lowest price, and that's not the traditional cue. The traditional retail cue is seeing something and then relating to it. And so helping with the virtual reality allows somebody to go into a farm that's otherwise not available to the public, to see that, to get intimate with it. And then the augmented reality is like, what's the difference?
Augmented reality is more, if you put a headset on, it would have to have a camera as well, because you have to see what you're normally seeing, and then it puts extra content into your view. Virtual reality, there is no camera. You have to literally build the floors, the walls, the ceiling, everything, and we would build an entire environment for you to experience. Or do 360 cameras or a Matterport camera and make it to where you can walk through a real environment. With AR, you are the real environment. We're just augmenting that.
So from my own personal experience, my first interaction with virtual reality was in Portland for their legal or recreation. Put on the Oculus, I think is what it was, and I went down the Colorado River, and I lost my balance because the raft was going crazy. And so that was really interesting. It really brought you there, and you could look around and people were waving to you. And then fast forward a few years, you're doing augmented reality. So I see you pop up, and then there's the ingredients or the information for cannabis brand. And so I'm seeing you and this product in my living room talking about this product in my own comfort of my own home. Is that kind of the idea, is to get products to people that can't otherwise get there, or what's the idea behind it?
The idea behind it really is to fully get the customer interactive with your brand. So if you're going to look at one of a packaging for, say, a company that I can't announce, Sky High Gardens, we're about to release their new app. When you look at any of their packaging, posters, postcards, hats, shirts, anything of theirs with their logo on it, it's going to spawn off a series of videos taking you through a full farm tour, everything about them, how they cure, how they do their greenhouse, what kind of lights they use. Everything about them is ingrained into every bit of their branding now. So you can see their entire farm, everything they do from seed to sale.
This is a remarkable idea, and as a potential investor, I would look at this as a cannabis product. That's wonderful, but this has applications so much further beyond just cannabis. Can you describe some of the other applications?
Well, I call it lighting the fuse. Once you sit down and explain and show somebody the possibilities, the conversation can go everywhere. So when you sit down with a new client, you have to mull it down to what's useful for them. We did this with a company called Shelterbox. They were up for a Nobel Peace Prize the past 2 years. They are huge in disaster relief. So if there is a hurricane, an earthquake, a war in Syria, anything like that, and people are left without a home, Shelterbox, privately, not governmentally funded company, brings out semi-trucks of these big boxes that has a tent, dishes, tools in order to build your own home stuff with, and they go to neighborhoods that need it and drop off these boxes. We built an augmented reality app that shows you everything in the box, the tent in real life size, so they can see if it fits where they're going to put it. That gives them a depiction of all the tools that they're going to get, so that governments can agree, yes, okay, that stuff all looks great, come in and help us. It's a hard time for them once they decide to help, to get approval to come help. And this also is something that they're part of the Rotary clubs all over the world, and that's how Shelterbox makes a lot of their money. Rotary clubs are made of a lot of people, ex-military and older people, and they can't really carry around this big tent and set it up every single time to show every new person that they want to make a donor. Now with augmented reality, they just pull out their phone and boom, the tent's right there, and they can walk around it, show everybody every detail about how their humanitarian company helps. So our augmented reality app is now a useful tool versus a gimmick that they can use in the field while setting up full campsites, use as fundraising while going from school to school and Rotary to Rotary, raising funds, or use as a promoting tool.
I actually love this in a business, industry agnostic, multiple applications. Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah, that is interesting. Could cars use it if you didn't know, like if you have spatial issues and you didn't know if you could park there? Is the future going to be where your car has augmented reality to tell you if you can fit in a space?
The future of augmented reality, very interestingly enough, just picture this. There's 5,000 data points on everybody that big companies are collecting. And Amazon and Apple and MySpace and Facebook and all these companies have been building these data points for years. So imagine your windshield is an augmented reality screen. There are no more billboards. Just driving by that building, it's going to automatically place an ad on that building for you like it's a big billboard when there is nothing actually there. No hardware, no nothing, just your windshield will see it. But if that car is registered to you, it's going to advertise what you have been talking about on that billboard. But if I am driving on that same highway, it's going to advertise to me.
Are you saying that as I drive by McDonald's, hot, fresh, steamy fries are going to pop up on my windshield and say, Katrina, 10% off if you pull over now?
Correct. Very interesting stuff like that. Burger King in Brazil just released an augmented reality app about 6 months ago that if you pull up, you have little tools like flamethrowers and stuff like that. And if you find a McDonald's and you burn the McDonald's down, they give you a code for a free Whopper. So that is what we call going against the marketplace. So That is burning down your competitors literally, and we can take over somebody else's ad and then funnily turn it into your ad. You can gamify that to make it to where you get more points inside the game if you burn all your competitors down. And we did this with an insurance company I'm not allowed to mention, but it looks at all the other insurance companies and turns their company into a disaster and makes you want to come to their company. So we turned over a big demo. We didn't close it, but I can't unveil that because I'm on paperwork. But yeah, there's a lot of overtaking the competition type of applications you can do with this. And there are no rules yet with augmented reality. So, I mean, Walmart can destroy Kmart. Kmart can destroy your neighborhood market. I mean, it could really go crazy.
So that's more sense like targeted marketing for specific people. And if they know that that I like flour or somebody likes dabs more than that, essentially you can literally burn down your competition if you're scanning high times or whatever.
I could literally point at a competitor's dabs and then have pesticides start crawling out of it and say, I'm a pesticide, I'm all in this guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could really get ugly with it.
Right, yeah, lawyers are going to love that.
I would like to focus on the positive aspect.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a CBD product, mm-hmm. and you want to educate your customer, and you have your certificate of analysis and your pesticide and heavy metal tests. Can you make something like that pop up and say, hey, I'm clean and here's my proof?
You can make it all pop up. You can even have a UI in the background that updates with every new test result that comes. So that every new batch number, when you hit that batch number on that packaging, you see that batch's test results live. We're doing demos for casinos now that you can look at player cards and get all of your player card information all on the casino right there. So that'll make people want to use their player cards more, take them home and play games at home. So there's a lot of different applications of this to do real-time information on the augmented reality.
I have one more question for you about that. One of the things that we have seen in Canada is they put them in little tin tuna cans. They put the buds in little tin tuna cans for a variety of reasons, shipping, storage, etc. But each little barcode on that tin tuna can has a picture of the bud that's inside. Can you get that granular with your VR?
Absolutely. We could make that picture 3D, completely spinning. Even better than that, we can go model the entire plant from seed all the way up to a bud and have it grow out of the top of it, and you see the whole plant, and then you can click the different buds and clip them on the plant. You can make it interactive, so where you can pick a bud out and then trim it in augmented reality. There's a lot of different fun things you can do in order to gamify it in order to get people to use it.
That is remarkable on that granular of a level, individual buds. That's remarkable.
From a regulatory standpoint, how about with the vape crisis? We saw some black market products. So there's been some QR codes mandated by some states. Is there a way that you can incorporate that to eliminate the black market for vape products, where the QR code essentially, exactly where it came from and that it's a legit product? Is that something you can incorporate?
Using QR codes, every phone now, you can just pull up your camera. You don't even have to have any special app or anything, and every Android or Apple phone can just look at a QR code and touch your camera picture and pulls up that website. Using that technology versus augmented reality, you can pull live test results off of every item instantly. QR codes is how we really started getting into the interactive side of things. I started putting QR codes on a whole bunch of products for a brand I had called iTunes. And you buy a joint, you get a song download by hitting the QR code. Now we have signed Redman from Redman and Method Man. When you look at any of his logo on any of his stuff, we made an augmented reality blunt with his name spin out and then start smoking and then lands on top of a screen, and it plays his latest music video, and he gets a YouTube hit every single time somebody looks at it.
Wow. So it's tied to social media, YouTube. Every time somebody looks at it, you're getting the statistics, not necessarily likes, but the viewership numbers.
Well, going back to 5,000 data points, if you download an app and you start using it, then that app starts collecting some data points on you, and it helps us market to you better on what you like. and it puts you inside our network so that we can start sending you updates on what we do. And we supply, if you bought an app and then you rolled that app out with us, in 6 months we're going to come back and give you all the analytics about your app, everybody that's downloaded it across the world, and where you need to focus your next 6 months on.
Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the podcast, you talked about XR. We talked a little bit about QR codes, AR, VR. What is the XR you mentioned?
So XR is you go to an Eminem concert and you want to see Old Dirty Bastard on stage with him, then you put on a headset and you see Eminem on stage, but you still see another artist on stage. You take the headset off and you're in regular reality. You put the headset on, you're in mixed reality. VR is where you are actually in a new concert while you're in your living room. XR would be when you put on like shades that have Google Glass on them or something, and you can see another person up on stage.
So it's not like where Tupac was on stage. That's just a hologram.
That was smoke and mirrors and steam and lights. That was old school, like 1700s holograms. No, for real. They used a very, very old, that was very smoke and mirrors. There was no hologram about that. It was just lights through smoke and mirrors. But there's no such thing as a real life hologram like Princess Leia coming out, talking to you, Obi-Wan, please help. There is no such thing. I have seen in Japan about 6-7 years ago, they were firing photons and then having those photons explode at a certain distance so they could have a laser shoot across the room and create monitored explosions of photons to create a real life hologram right there in front of you. But it was super dangerous, a lot of radiation, and makes a big fizzy noise, and there's only one color. So the technology just isn't there yet to have the real life hologram. There's a lot of spinning fans with LEDs, but with that, you might as well just have a full LED wall. Mm-hmm. It's less dangerous and does the exact same thing as the spinning fans. There is an app needed, or there is a website that needs to hold the data of the actual assets, the holograms themselves. You can't just see it pop up and off of a logo without storing that data somewhere, whether it be on the cloud or a phone or a tablet.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about nonprofits, we've talked about cannabis, agriculture for that matter, commodities. Sounds like movies or music. Is there anyone else that could utilize this technology?
Doctors, especially. Anything in training with military. I mean, the government's right now, my father is the 15th Chief of the United States Air Force, just to name drop him for a second. I've grown up as military royalty family my whole life, and he's just telling me about how much the military is just now starting to run an AR for training purposes, not having to be at an actual plane to take that plane's engine apart to learn aircraft maintenance. And he got all the way to the top enlisted spot of the entire United States Air Force when he started as an aircraft maintenance person working on the A-10 Warhog. And so he knows how much goes into learning how to do an airplane engine. And now being able to sit in a classroom environment with a headset on and take that engine apart and put it back together 1,000 times without having to be at that engine is invaluable. Millions and trillions of dollars saved in education when you can start turning real life objects into 3D modeled objects and working on them.
Let's unpack that a little bit, because I was gonna get there. You can create something through augmented reality, and then with those files, something similar to like a step file, you can then 3D print it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just creating a 3D asset, and we use a scanning gun in order to get the color, the model, the shape of everything in, and then we have an animator or 3D modeler who will pull that up, and there's what are called polys, or they're triangles. Everything is built with triangles, and when you first scan it in, you got like 1 million polys, and then we'll have somebody that decimates it and takes all those polys down and takes a little amount of polys as possible in order to create that, and then they put a texture, which is the color and the feel of it, and then they paint it with a texture over the top, and they recreate a model of what that actual item is. 10 years ago, actually about 11 years ago now, is when Microsoft started building all of their AR. About a year ago, all of their scientists started getting off their NDAs, and that's why the public is finally hearing about it now. Mm-hmm. So we're fortunate enough to work with a few people that were on those NDAs that helped us build our set of code that now is our IP. So we wrote a whole bunch of code for placing these holograms into an app So now we don't have to do the heavy lifting. Past 2 years, we've been doing that lifting. Now I have a series of codes that I can say that you can do this format, or this format. Which one do you want to rebrand with your content? And I can have it back to you extremely fast because we've already done the work.
That's phenomenal.
It is. I like that it's industry agnostic too.
Absolutely. The Meta Stage is a 106 camera array in LA. There is, it's called a holodeck basically. There's like 5 or 6 of them in the world right now, and they specialize in capturing volumetric video capture. So it's 106 cameras with 50 servers inside of a room that stitches all 106 cameras together real time to create a perfect live hologram. I just went down to LA, had a big meeting with them, created a partnership with this group, and I became a producer of their studio so that I can now bring artists or creatives to a full holodeck and have you recorded as a full hologram. I myself was created as a full hologram, and I just got all of the assets back yesterday, and I'm going to now put all of my hologram on all my business cards where I will walk out and talk to you. Using things called chat bots, you can program 1,000 questions and 1,000 answers, and then you can go in and record those answers to where somebody can then walk up and start talking to your hologram, and you'll talk back.
Can I ask what the price point for that would be? Just ballpark? I mean,
There-
it sounds like a lot of custom work.
Ballpark is hard to do because it is very dependent on what you want. If you want something that's a 15-second video versus an 11-minute video, that's a $40,000 difference. So, I mean, it's really dependent on how you're going to use it. Now, if a doctor program wanted to put a doctor up there and explain CBD with a doctor, and you had a doctor willing to go do it, how long does it take to explain CBD and what it does for you, and how long can we fit that in there? If it's a 3-minute speech, then it's one price. If he wants to answer questions, if you wanted to ask questions about CBD, it's going to be a lot more. But roughly speaking, it's really hard to give a price to it. Those stages that you rent in order to do that, I mean, they're like $20,000 a day just to create that asset, and then I have to build that asset into the app.
So pretty pricey, but what a differentiator that would be.
I mean, there's only like 5 of those studios in the entire world. And I'm very extremely lucky to have met the owner of the Meta Stage, which is the most powerful, the most well-advanced, and become a producer of that studio. So I have the green light to bring my contract straight in there and get on their calendar, which is hard to do. So I was able to get in there, and they did a full demo hologram of me, so I can go then and go pitch this to the Sonys, the Disneys, all the other places in order to start getting their actors to come in and creating a human profile of them so that they can start acting in movies without having to be there.
Wow.
I have a dumb question.
I have a good answer for it.
Is that how they did like the Matrix?
Well, The Matrix, absolutely. That movie started this technology in a big way by having the first array of cameras where she did the whole background and then it went around her. That was the start of volumetric video, that movie.
I do know something then.
High five. That was a great question. Not stupid at all.
Awesome.
Trying to relate it to
Yeah, absolutely.
our audience.
So it's probably not something that a single or sole proprietor, if they want to have, a virtual or augmented reality business card, it's probably not suited for mom and pops, but it's...
Well, an augmented reality business card like I did for Aaron Pelly from Cult of a Law. I did a business card one for him, and we did a full body scan of him with our scan gun as a still. So when you look at his business card, you see exactly what he looks like, and you can go all the way around his torso, but he's not moving. And then we have all of his contact, all of his links, and then we even put a video screen with buttons on there for his favorite courtroom scenes. You can watch Liar Liar, A Few Good Men, To Kill a Mockingbird, and that sort of thing on there. That app altogether, total thing, completely done, published, about $5,000.
Oh. So it is reasonable.
Yeah, it is reasonable. But if you want to have a full moving hologram in the studio in LA, that's what's expensive. That's only the big players can play with.
That's the dancing baby.
That's the dancing baby, yeah. A 2D hologram, which can come off of you as a hologram on your business card, walking back and forth talking, but if you walk around it, you're not 3D, you're a flat hologram. I can record that in this studio today, and we can send you home with one. It's pretty easy.
That's amazing. Well, if somebody is interested, how do they get a hold of you? Where are you at? Social media and contact info?
Level 5 Interactive, the number 5, Level 5 Interactive. Anything that will lead straight to me in this green screen studio. We also film the show The Dab Roast, 10 dabs, 10 questions with celebrities, hence the dab rigs to Mini Nail. Shout out Mini Nail. That show is also a great way to get a hold of me. If my time isn't spent making holograms, it's doing dabs.
And all of that will be in the show notes as well.
I am the founder of Level 5 Interactive, and I am the executive producer of pretty much everything in my life but the Dab Roast. My main job, in my mind, is just putting the right people in the room to get the job done the very best. And I have a talent for finding the right people and putting them in the room together and keeping them working in a happy environment. That makes me the executive producer.
All right, with that, we're going to roll this one up. I want to thank my guest, Scott McKinley, founder, executive producer at Level 5 Interactive. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Or don't. And I'm out.
And dab safe.